Hello everyone, I'm Amrita and I'm back with a new video. This time in this video, I'm talking about OpenAI's latest report on the use of artificial intelligence by cybercriminals. Yes, so this report is talking about how ChatGPT is being used or misused by cybercriminals. You and I, we all use ChatGPT to some extent in our day-to-day life for school or for work or for personal reasons. And one of the things that I really thought about after going through this report is two things. One, there's absolutely zero privacy on these platforms. So whatever you are conversing with ChatGPT, whatever data you're sharing about your personal life or about your work, every single thing, every single mention can be monitored and is available to be monitored by the company that owns it, in this case OpenAI. The concern over here is that for organizations or for employees or anyone else who cares about the privacy, this could actually reveal your activity and what your organization does and everything else about that you're doing. So that's a concern, certainly. The second thing is the good news. It has allowed OpenAI to monitor the misuse of this AI tool by cybercriminals or who mean it for nefarious reasons. So this particular report cites 10 case studies, and a lot of them actually are linked to nation-state threat actors who are my favorite to kind of investigate on. And we will get into all of these case studies. To just give you a brief overview of the types of operations these criminal networks are using ChatGPT for, are these four types of things. One is social engineering, the other is cyber espionage, the third one is deceptive employment schemes, and the fourth and my favorite one is covert influence operations, which is another term for propaganda operations and campaigns. So without further ado, let's get into the case studies. I will start with all of the China linked case studies that OpenAI has mentioned, and we have to say that out of the 10, 4 of them are linked to China. That says something. So the first one is dubbed Sneer Review and is likely attributed to Chinese influence operatives. They used ChatGPT to generate bulk social media posts. In certain things, they were related to content, short content, and short comments. And in other cases, they were long form content that was generated as well. One of the main campaign was targeting Taiwan, and this particular board game called Reversed Front, and they left a review, a long form review, a negative review against this particular board game because this board game basically simulates sort of resistance against the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP. You can be any character from Hong Kong, Taiwan, or other adversarial nation to China, and you can play this game. So they left a fake review about this board game. So like I said in the beginning of the video, that OpenAI can actually see every single thing that you mention to ChatGPT. In this case, they found that the user claimed to be working for the Chinese propaganda department. So that's certainly something stupid to do, but also something that all of us might make a mistake of mentioning our organizations or something very personal. And in this case, it has helped reveal most likely the department that is behind such operations. So what were they doing exactly? They were doing Chinese language content generation on politics and geopolitics, which were pro-Beijing in views and opinion. And they were also doing Chinese to English translations as well, and posting short social media comments, generating fake comments to amplify content, to generate fake and inauthentic engagement on TikTok and Twitter, or in the X. There were also other platforms that they were active on, like Facebook, but mostly they were active on TikTok and Twitter. So some of the inconsistencies that OpenAI observed, and which is important for us to note, I will tell you why, was that the account names of the commentators, the ones who were commenting, were Inconsistent. So for example, the account name was in Korean while they were commenting in Urdu, and they had mostly cartoon profile pictures and cryptocurrency names and stuff like that. Why is this important for us to note? Is that if you or I, if we come across such bot accounts, or such comments anywhere, um, we will be able to tell that there is something wrong with this. If there are inconsistencies, for example, in the language that they're using for the profile name and the language that they are speaking in, so keep a watch on that. They were also posing as news outlets, but these news outlets hardly had any posts or followers. Again, raised red flags. Now, apart from the Taiwan campaign that I mentioned, the other things that OpenAI also pointed out that the operation was focusing against was targeting this one Balochistan activist. If you guys don't know where is Balochistan, it is a conflicted region in Pakistan. In this operation, the operatives were generating negative comments and fake news about this particular activist, trying to take her down. Um, yeah. And the other thing that they posted on was about the US aid cuts. The next China linked operation was dubbed Vague Focus, which was a combination of social engineering and influence operation targeting the United States and Europe. If you don't know what is social engineering, it is basically when threat actors or cyber criminals try to present themselves as someone else, like create fake personas to convince you, the target audience, about what they're trying to sell or whatever the malicious campaign that they are currently running. So in this case, the social engineering part of it, they post as journalists and geopolitical analysts on social media sites and researchers and news portals and stuff like that. And they try to reach out to other journalists and interlocutors or researchers um, who were probably talking about geopolitics and stuff, and try to reach out to them to get more information and further down the campaign get more classified information about certain things such as the US economic and financial policies. And they were paying high sums, sort of like $2,000 for such classified information. What they were essentially doing is creating social media campaigns and social engineering tactics to recruit intelligence sources, aka spies. What these entities were also doing were that they were translating instructions to reach out to these entities that I just named, the targets that I just named. From they were doing translations from Chinese to English, which means that they were not native English speakers, and they were also pretending to be not be based in China. They were pretending to be based outside of China, for example, Turkey. One of the things that they also did was that they generated a Chinese to English translated email content addressed to a US senator talking something about the nomination of an administrative official. So you can imagine how high their targets are. Like, they are aiming for high value targets over here. Moving on to the next operation that OpenAI linked to China was dubbed Uncle Spam. So, like it says, it was targeting United States. It was generating content, comments, and even logos for fake personas and fake social media accounts such as Veterans for Justice, and they were being done on Twitter and Blue Sky. Uh, what were they doing exactly? They were not exactly promoting any kind of a particular ideology, but they were just exploiting the existing political division within the political discourse in the US, trying to amplify that division. Mostly, the end goals for such operatives is to create sort of an unrest and blow things out of proportion. Finally, OpenAI also observed two famous and publicly known Chinese linked APTs, or persistent threats known as Vixen Panda and Keyhole Panda, also active and using ChatGPT. If you don't know what is an APT, they are basically a group of highly sophisticated actors who are backed by nation states. In this case, China. They have fundings and resources and everything, and they carry out sophisticated cyber attacks targeting the critical infrastructure, government or defense networks in their targeted, regions and countries. So these entities actually are part of the military side of a particular nation. What were Vixen Panda and Keyhole Panda doing on ChatGPT? They were generating content on various topics, including password brute forcing, and they were writing code for such thing. Password brute forcing is nothing but when you don't know the password, you try multiple combinations of passwords to crack it, and they were writing a code for this. And in most of these cases, these threat actors don't try to sit and guess what it could be and do it manually. They do it through automation, writing code, and in this case assisted by ChatGPT. They were also doing penetration testing, which is driven by AI, and doing open source research and infrastructure profiling targeting the US defense industry and military networks and government technology. So, for threat actors, first to attack a certain network or certain government or any kind of target, they need to know what kind of infrastructure they're using, what kind of systems they are using, how they are connected, and everything. They were using ChatGPT to get information and the research on that. The next one that I'm going to talk about is actually linked to North Korea. Yes, even North Koreans are apparently using ChatGPT to further their malicious activities. And in this case, it was regarding the IT workers scams, which has been linked to North Korea. This is a topic which is everywhere right now in the cybersecurity and digital sphere. Every media house is talking about it, where North Korean residents are posing as IT workers based outside of North Korea, obviously, like Singapore, and applying to remote IT worker jobs in Western tech companies. This is highly concerning for various reasons. One of them is because the exposed entities and targeted organizations are now at risk of data theft. These North Korean residents can steal sensitive information. The other thing is the money that these operatives gain from the jobs can go to the North Korean regime and their activities, and maybe to the nuclear program as well. So, what did OpenAI observe these entities doing was that they were creating US-based personas with fabricated employment history. They were automatically generating bulk resumes, and they were also trying to recruit people in North America to run the laptops on their behalf, so that if somebody does geolocation testing, then it does show that they are based out of United States. There were two types of operators that OpenAI found. One were the core operators, the others were contractors. So the core ones were actual North Korean residents, and maybe the contractors were the ones who were recruited in a third country. Moving on, the next operation is linked to Philippines and is dubbed High Five. This particular campaign was actually linked to a public relations firm, a marketing company, which was apparently running some kind of a political campaign and generating short comments in English and Taglish on politics and current events that were happening in the Philippines, generating content analysis and PR materials. And their client seemed to be President Bongbong Marcos. So they were generating positive content for Marcos. Coming to two case studies which are linked to Russia. One of them is an influence operation in German language targeting Germany's elections in 2025. This is how uh, concerning the use of ChatGPT really is. Uh, this is dubbed as Helgoland Byte. What these operatives were doing was generating German language content about the 2025 German elections, criticizing the United States and NATO, and also supporting generating AI generated content supporting AFD, which seems to be a right wing, anti US, anti NATO political party in Germany. I am not sure about that, but it seems to be the case. They were also coordinating stuff on Telegram channel, and the content that was found on this Telegram channel was actually reposted verbatim on very famously known Russian propaganda network called Pravda in German language. Now, the second case study on Russia was dubbed Scope Creep, where operatives were actually developing and refining a Windows malware, debugging the code, and setting up the C2 infrastructure. What they were posing as was some kind of legitimate tools used in video games. ChatGPT was used to speed up the development of the malware, and what was the malware was capable of maintaining persistence in the target systems, privilege escalation, credential harvesting, and remote access. So I've thrown out a lot of cybersecurity jargons over here to explain a little bit on each of them. Persistence basically means when a threat actor or a hacker um, compromises a systems and intends to uh, remain in that network for a long period of time without being detected, mostly to steal information and monitor activities in real time. Privilege escalation basically means when a user has less rights to access to a network or a system, and using this malware, they elevate those privileges to get more access, which they should not have. Remote access basically means they don't have to be physically present, it is all being carried out remotely and without being detected. Credential harvesting is when these threat actors can actually access your passwords and other login credentials that you have stored, including financial details on your web browser or on your computer systems. And they use this, they steal it, and you don't know how it could be misused. There could be financial theft resulting from this as well. Finally, coming to the last two case studies, one is linked to Iran and is attributed to a well known APT, seems like an APT, Iran linked APT called Storm 2035. What they were doing is they were pretending to be residents of US, UK, Ireland, and Venezuela and posting political commentary pretending to be those residents, which were highly divisive. They were doing Persian to English and Spanish translations, generating such content on X regarding US immigration, Scottish independence, Irish reunification, and US Iran talks. Now, imagine you come across an account where a person claims to be from Scotland, has a master's in economics, and generally is pro Scottish independence and is using the account to post their views on this particular very politically divisive and fiery topic in the UK. But turns out this profile actually is being operated by Iran linked operatives and does not actually belong to a Scottish resident. What it does is, manipulate the political scenario and landscape of the UK over a very sensitive topic, which poses a lot of physical security threats as well. And it amplifies a certain narratives, and it seems like actual people from Scotland are making these comments when they are not. So the final case study is linked to Cambodia, and it is a scam operation dubbed wrong number. You and we have all come across probably SMSs where they promise very high hourly rates and payments to carry out simple social media tasks, and then they lead you to some kind of Telegram channel where the conversation is completely different. So this particular operation was using ChatGPT to carry out such a scam operation. That's what OpenAI found. Thank you. That's all for this video. If you liked it, please leave comments, likes, and obviously subscribe. It keeps me motivated to post more videos. Thank you very much.